Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Finally, a nail-biter for Team USA in the Winter Olympics as the men's hockey team scraped by Sweden in overtime. And yet another college hoop star has been lost to a season-ending injury. Plus, the Miami Dolphins are already throwing in the towel for 2026. I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
Team USA finally cut one close, beating Sweden 2-1 in an overtime thriller to advance to the Winter Olympics men's hockey semifinals. Locked On NHL Squad Show hosts Gil Martin and Zach Berman reacted to USA's close call.
If anybody ever tries to suggest that NHLers should not be in the Olympics, they should just not be allowed to have opinions in hockey. This is everything we wanted, right?
Absolutely. 12 hours of just crazy, intense games, 3 great finishes. And yeah, I've watched the Olympics hockey without the NHL players. The quality has just nowhere close, absolutely nowhere close. And look, there's a big reason why, the IIHF and the IOC, compromise with whatever the NHL was looking for in their demands for this. It's because this is the best players. These are like the whole point of the Olympics is to have best on best. And frankly, the men's hockey tournament has never had that feeling about it since 2014. It just has not had that feeling. And this year you're seeing exactly why that is.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the quality of play is higher. And if the Olympics is supposed to be best on best, this is what you want to see. Now, the flip side of that is injuries, and we did have another injury take place today. But I guess if you want to have best on best, that's something you got to live with.
It's unfortunate. It's a contact sport. It could happen to anybody, right?
Exactly, right? Like, here's the thing. I understand that, you lose your players in a non-NHL event and all those things. But some of these players came to the Olympics hurt. Some of these players, some of these teams lost players even going, from their NHL. So it's just from the NHL side of it, things too, right? So you can't have it both ways. You can't say, all right, you can't mitigate the this sort of thing. Because if you try to tell players, you got to take it easy so you don't get hurt. I'm sorry. You try telling players that they can't be playing at their best for their country. It's not a recipe for success for a tournament like this. So you just have to. It's something you have to live with. Players get hurt in the off season. For things like that are beyond the team's control. So I think that you have to kind of take everything with the caution that these sort of things are going to happen. And look, there are some players getting hurt right now. It's unfortunate, but if you ask any of the players whether they regret coming to these Olympics, I doubt any player is showing any regret for coming to this tournament.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. How about Canada's win earlier today? In overtime, a late goal by Czechia, Andre Palat, tying it up, someone who both Zach and I are quite familiar with. But
I gave him the lead.
Yeah, gave him the lead. And I think I give a lot of credit to both teams. I mean, Canada for eventually winning the game and Czechia for giving them such a hard battle to the finish.
Never in doubt, right, gentlemen? Never in doubt.
I had something planned if Canada was going to lose this game.
I'm afraid to ask.
Instead, I must just raise my maple syrup and say, oh, God, I'm going to regret this. Oh, it's so much syrup.
I could give you the real stuff, man. Let me know next time. I'll
this is the real stuff.
right from the maple in Quebec. That's where the good stuff comes from.
Look, never in doubt, right? But didn't I say a few days ago on the squad show who could potentially steal a game and send this whole tournament to chaos? I said Lucas Dostal. Man, he was pretty close to doing that. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Canada, I look at this game, and you can tell certain players are banged up. I think every team has players who are banged up. I don't think Nathan McKinnon's at 100%. We know that now. Losing Sidney Crosby, God, that hurts. But the big one here for me, too, is, and I'm sure we were going to get to this, Gil, but when you have to play against not only the team, but the refs, too, yeah. I'm going there right now, gentlemen, because first off, the penalty that Pasternak scored the goal on, I thought that was a chintzy call. Then the refs decide, you know what, we're just going to close our eyes and not count how many players are on the ice.
That was ridiculous.
When Czechia not only scored the goal, like they scored the go-ahead goal, there were 8 players on the ice at one point in that sequence because players came on, players were coming off. There were 6 players in the celebration. There's a photo of it, clear as day. And I'm just like, how does the linesman not go 1, 2, and then I know that the coach for Czechia came out and says, well, it's hard to win when you're playing against 6. And I'm like, you mean it's easier to try to steal a game when you're playing with 6 because that's what your team tried to do.
Is now a good time to mention that everyone's least favorite NHL official, Chris Rooney, was the head official in this game? Maybe, maybe not.
It's just, they've tried. Like, we all know that IIHF and the Olympic officials have always been a sore spot. One of the few things that in this tournament people have always had an issue with. And it hasn't really been a problem up until this game. Like, let's be honest. And I remember the Czech coach was like, well, they're trying a mix of the NHL, IIHF officials, and we're not seeing I've watched NHL games and things that are called there are not being called here. And I'm just like, it really wasn't a problem until this game. It just kind of feels like that. But thankfully, at the end of the day, the hockey gods reward the team that deserves it the most, especially when this beauty right over here, Mitch Marner, who I don't think I've ever said a bad thing about ever on the Locked On League show. Not ever. Like, it's not like this jersey has been banished to the side since July, because he came and he proved maybe he is good in clutch situations.
Stay up to date all year on Olympic hockey and the NHL by subscribing to Locked On NHL on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, yet another one of college basketball's best players is done for the season. Before we get to that, the Sacramento Kings, per usual, have nothing to look forward to. The Winter Games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for the events you only get to see on the big stage once every 4 years. And that's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care most about, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to all the action. It's the building drama of curling matches, which always seem to be on. Races decided by inches or fractions of a second. Both popular and niche events become must watch when you're fully locked in to the competition. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better place to follow than on FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. The season's already over for the Kings, not like it ever really got off the ground. Both Domantas Sabonis and Zach LaVine have undergone season-ending surgeries, leaving Sacramento fans with nothing to talk about or look forward to until the draft.
That's exactly what happened on Wednesday afternoon. We went to practice. We're right in the middle of interviewing Doug Christie at practice. Doug having a good old time explaining what's next for the Sacramento Kings and how they're going to handle the second half of the season. And that's when a tweet goes down from ESPN Shams Charania telling us that Domantas Sabonis has undergone surgery on his left knee and will be lost for the remainder of the season. Shortly after we got done with Doug Christie, a media relations member came over and said, look, get ready. We got some updates. The updates weren't good. Not good at all. realistically. Domantas Sabonis being lost for the season is not good news for the Kings unless you're in the pro tank camp. If you're in that pro tank camp, we'll get to why this matters so much in a minute. But look, Domantas Sabonis making like $43 million this year. He underwent surgery to repair a torn meniscus in his left knee. And of course, you get the successful injury report from the Kings this evening. But look, when you're the franchise player at this point, and that's what Sabonis is, with De'Aaron Fox gone, he is the last remaining link to a franchise player that the Kings have. And he just hasn't been able to stay healthy all year.
The Mavs are shutting down Kyrie Irving for the rest of the season as he recovers from ACL surgery.
Mavs shut down Kyrie Irving for the season and answered one big question we've all had about Kyrie Irving. And that question is, how committed is he to the Dallas Mavericks? And the fact that he released a joint statement with the Dallas Mavericks at least shows that they are on the same page to a degree. It shows us that they have some kind of communication. We all wondered about Kyrie Irving after the Anthony Davis trade. What does he think about this organization? He has now come into the Mavericks, made the NBA Finals with Luka Doncic, and then Luka Doncic got traded. Then he was with Anthony Davis. They had this dream of playing together. They only played one half of basketball together, which was the Houston half. And now Anthony Davis is gone. What is it? Nico Harrison is gone too, the guy that bet on both him and Anthony Davis. What does Kyrie Irving think about the Mavericks? And I think we've answered that question with this statement, that at least he's on the same page with the organization, no matter what it actually means for the Mavericks. Now, the statement that his agent made, this whole thing about Kyrie Irving getting shut down is about him being 1,000% healthy when he comes back next season, and then gives him the best chance to chase a championship next season. I don't know that statement itself says a lot about his relationship with the Dallas Mavericks. I don't think he's going to be chasing a championship with the Mavericks next season. Maybe he thinks that. Maybe the Mavs' number one pick will be incredible next season, and him, Cooper Flagg, and Kyrie Irving will all be working together for a championship. But I do think that the joint statement itself does say a lot about Kyrie Irving and the Mavericks. It says that they're at least on the same page when it comes to this shutdown, and the fact that they're coordinated on it should give Mavs fans some hope.
Another big-time college hoop star has suffered a torn ACL. JT Toppin, Texas Tech's leading scorer and one of the best players in all of college basketball, is done, and so are the Red Raiders' national title hopes, at least according to Locked On Red Raiders host Chris Level.
The verdict is in with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Clarity on the JT Toppin injury, courtesy of Texas Tech this afternoon. Quote, an MRI has confirmed that Texas Tech junior forward JT Toppin sustained a season-ending torn ACL in his right knee Tuesday night in the game at Arizona State. So there we have it. We'll not see JT Toppin again this season. Now what? As far as immediate considerations for a team still very capable and still with a lot of opportunity out there, but clearly things change with a departure like this. I want to also talk, Chris, about down the road considerations as well, because you are always in a roster building state, and this is one of those types of things that can obviously really pivot a program as far as what maybe you feel like your future was going to include personnel wise. So we'll tackle that as we feel about it here at this hour, but doing what I know all Red Raiders are doing just about anywhere you may be at this point, processing just devastating news for Red Raider hoops from Tempe.
Damn. Yeah. Worst fears realized, right? Yeah, it's a punch in the gut for sure. So many, you just hate it for JT. First of all, he's just done nothing but produce since he's been here. It's funny because your softball pitcher, everybody attaches a dollar figure to her whenever they bring her up, Najee Kennedy, right? And JT is like one of the highest paid, I think, basketball players in the country, but it's like, for whatever reason, that's just never talked about or discussed. And all he does is in a one of the most difficult things to do is just produce every single night. I think that I wouldn't have said the same thing a month ago, but I think that he had played his way into where he may have been the favorite to win the Big 12 Player of the Year again, even with all the special freshmen. And it just you feel cheated. There's so many different things now that come into play, because you've got Kansas State and then Cincinnati and then a trip to Ames and then TCU and then a trip to Provo and then the Big 12 tournament. That is 6 games. You will now have to kind of reinvent yourself or attempt to without your best player or one of your 2 best players and one of the best scorers and rebounders in the country. And unicorn back to the basket type player, a guy that you could just throw it to him and get him a bucket. He was a facilitator. I mean, all the things. And probably your unquestioned leader too. You know, there's a whole now what, now what? I mean, who fills those voids? How much does this shell shock a group of young guys that look to him for a variety of things? You know, young people adapt quickly, and they can morph and deal with change better than us older folks. But still, that's kind of the face of the franchise, if you will. And now he's no longer. So, just my mind races. Is like, okay, well, have we seen him play his last game at Texas Tech? Has he played in that building for the last time and we just didn't know it? And I mean, I don't know. Or is this because of this injury? Because, man, I think you're talking – I don't know if like a football versus basketball per se, and I don't know if it's just ACL or if it's other stuff. But I think a safe time frame here is like 9 months. Could it be less than that? Sure. Could it be longer than that? Sure. At what level are you back? Good question. Does this really point to him coming back next year? I mean, I don't. Can't imagine that if it was already a question about being a draft pick before, that this would go, oh, yeah, well, for sure draft him now. No, I mean, so this may bring him back to Lubbock, Texas next year. What exactly does that look like? Price tag? How much of the season would he miss? You know, there's a lot of questions that we can get into, but I just, in the immediate, man, what a gut punch, man. That sucks.
Yeah, just no way around it, and no way around the fact that what you felt like you had in Lubbock was a team capable of maybe competing for a national title, and so that just changes dramatically. You're still going to have a very good basketball team, but there's no way around the fact that you're going to pull off some magic to make that kind of noise or even approach that kind of noise when the postseason gets here, which it will, and you will be a part of. And Chris, I don't know what there is to make of the opportunity you still have remaining in the Big 12 Conference as far as time to try and reconfigure and reinvent yourself, but I'm grasping for any silver lining to any of the timing. There's no silver lining, obviously, to the news, but the timing of it, I mean, you're not right at the beginning of the tournament. You've got some time to try and figure something out. Love our coaching staff and love the team, so I'm optimistic about them figuring something out to be their best version of what this team can be. But you can't be what you could be with a Big 12 player of the year. Lean in for that expert analysis. I know that's breaking news, but you can't fill that void.
Stay up to date all year on the Texas Tech Red Raiders by subscribing to Locked On Red Raiders on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Coming up, the Dolphins are giving up, and it's the right thing to do. Cutting, trading, and blowing up the roster. The Dolphins' message earlier this season is clear. They have no plans to compete in 2026. Locked On NFL's Tyler Rowan explains why giving up is the right decision in Miami.
And they're going to try to trade Tua to get even more cap relief. That's something that I think they could potentially do. They may have to attach a draft pick NBA style to get Tua off their books. But with all these people going, I mean, it's hard not to think the Dolphins will be worse than 7-10 next year.
Yeah, I mean, and if what they want to do is tank and have an early draft pick in 2027, maybe the number 1 overall pick, then go for it. I think it stinks for Jeff Hafley to come into this situation. Yeah. He could be a one and done type situation. I mean, this roster is looking absolutely depleted right now. The wide receivers / tight ends on the roster are Jalen Waddle, Malik Washington, Theo Weiss, I don't know, Taj Washington, and Julian Hill. Like, you are depleted at receivers. Absolutely. Their secondary is completely depleted. They cut their best edge rusher and Bradley Chubb. They already traded away Jalen Phillips. Like, I don't know where you're getting production from outside of having Devin Achane, but he can't do it all, right?
Ty's my guy, but he is wildly overreacting. Moving on from Tyreek Hill is not giving up. Moving on from Tua Tagovailoa is not giving up. If anything, it is a way of showing your seriousness about moving forward as a real football team, because this team had maxed out this version of the Miami Dolphins. It's why Mike McDaniel is now the offensive coordinator in LA. They brought in Jeff Hafley. They're probably going to bring in a quarterback, Malik Willis. They brought in a new general manager from the Green Bay Packers, and they are now moving forward as a different version of the Dolphins. But the whole point, usually, of firing a coach is because you believe there's more talent on the team than the coach is getting from that team. And I think that's true. Mike McDaniel had this team playing pretty hard toward the end of the year, despite the obvious limitations of the quarterback and the roster in general. They moved on from some older, expensive players, and in the case of Tua, just an expensive player who has clearly physically deteriorating. That's not giving up to me. That's moving forward. And finally, UCLA men's basketball coach Mick Cronin is angry. What else is new? Except this time, Cronin took out his frustrations on one of his own players. With 4:26 remaining versus Michigan State and the Bruins trailing by 27, UCLA forward Steven Jamerson committed a hard foul that garnered a reaction from State's Carson Cooper. After teammates separated the two, both players went back to their benches, and before the officials could review what happened, Cronin took matters into his own hands, ejecting Jamerson from the game himself. I guess Cronin upgraded that to a flagrant 2. Spartans head coach Tom Izzo joked after the game. That's the first time I saw a coach do it, but that sounds like Mick. So he'll get that straightened out. Just when you thought you'd seen everything. Coming up, women's hockey goes for gold in a finals rematch against Team Canada. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.